CTV National News with Lloyd Robertson.
Good evening. Hamilton, Ontario is the political capital of Canada tonight, with Prime Minister Stephen Harper and Liberal leader Michael Ignatieff both campaigning in the NDP stronghold. But once again, party politics overshadowed election issues of the day. We begin with the outrage over comments made by a star Liberal candidate, a former judge with controversial views about sexual assault. CTV's Ottawa Bureau Chief Robert Fife explains.
One day after Michael Ignatieff turfed the Quebec candidate for being a white supremacist, his campaign stop at a senior's home was sidetracked by yet another controversy. Former provincial judge John Riley, running as a big-name Liberal hopeful in the Alberta riding of Wildrose, told the radio station jail sentences are unnecessary for certain types of sexual assault.
Well, you know, there are sexual assaults and there are sexual assaults.
Sure.
Riley cited the example of a young man who he says should not have been jailed for sexual assault against his girlfriend.
He fondles her privates, and she wakes up and tells him to go away, and he goes away.
These remarks are utterly, totally unacceptable. We find them, in fact, disgraceful.
In a statement, Riley said, "I unreservedly apologize for the clumsy example," adding he deeply regrets any distress his comments caused. Ignatieff won't ask Riley to step aside.
He made one remark that he's going to regret for the rest of his life. He's offered an unreserved apology. I've accepted it.
The other parties were less forgiving.
You have to question the judgment of someone who would say something like that. You've always got to be thinking of the victim.
The interests of the criminals are first for a Liberal, and that is where we fundamentally disagree with the Liberals.
Ignatieff has been relentlessly attacking the Tories' tough-on-crime laws for sending too many people to prison. But he won't say what Tory laws his party would repeal.
We have to review the entire matter. We have to say, what are the costs actually going to be?
It looks to me that he's trying to hide his agenda until after the election.
Ignatieff's advisors say the Liberals believe in crime prevention, but the party has no plans to release its justice agenda during the election. Lloyd.
Well, Bob, the Liberals have put out this 94-page red book supposedly covering everything in their platform. Why would they not want to discuss this particular subject during the campaign?
Lloyd, I think the Liberals are deathly afraid that if they put out their own law and order agenda, that the Conservatives will jump on them and say that they're soft on crime. It's even more confusing. The Liberal public safety critic, Mark Holland, has said that a Liberal government wouldn't revisit the tough law and order legislation that's been passed by Parliament, legislation, by the way, which the Liberals supported. But that's not what Mr. Ignatieff is saying. He's saying they are going to revisit. He just won't tell us what they're going to do.
Well, not discussing this kind of thing during an election campaign may be a difficulty for the Liberals based on past experience, right?
Lloyd, it sort of reminds me of what happened in 1993 election when Kim Campbell said elections are not the time to talk about the economy and high unemployment. And of course, she got clobbered for it. And we're going to keep pressing Mr. Ignatieff to see if he'll give us a little bit more on their justice agenda.
All right, thank you, Bob. Robert Fife in Hamilton tonight. We also heard an apology from Prime Minister Stephen Harper today. He expressed regret that some voters have been ejected from his campaign events. And when protesters showed up at a Tory rally tonight, he let some of them in. Earlier, Harper put the focus on seniors and families. CTV's Roger Smith has more.
3 generations of an Italian-Canadian family laid out the goodies for a guest who came for a photo op with goodies of his own. Out in their backyard, Stephen Harper promised to double the contribution to those popular tax-free savings accounts to $10,000 a year.
This is another major step forward to allow Canadians to keep more of their hard-earned money and to save and invest in their own priorities.
Again, there's a hitch. It won't happen until the deficit's gone, maybe in 4 years. But Tories hope the political payoff will come sooner, especially in Vaughan, where the Minister for Seniors, Julian Fantino, is fighting to hold the seat he narrowly won in a by-election last fall. As for that nagging controversy over people being kicked out of his rallies, Harper finally tried to lay it to rest.
If anybody is kept out of any of our events that's there to hear our message, we obviously apologize to them. Our interest is in having as many people out to hear our message as we can.
Tonight, a welcoming party of protesters, from liberal chickens pushing for a one-on-one debate to steelworkers angry about lost jobs.
Why are you not doing anything for the working-class families of Hamilton?
As well, a non-partisan group urging students to vote. And to show their new openness, the Tories let them into the rally, where they listened politely to Harper's pitch.
We need a strong, stable, national majority Conservative government.
But there was a bit of trouble. A steel worker did heckle Harper.
Every job he's created is Tim Hortons jobs, minimum wage. What good is that?
But with the media watching, security let him stay.
Harper will unveil his full platform tomorrow, but don't expect many surprises. It'll basically be the last budget with a new cover, and any big new promises will be conditional on getting rid of the deficit. Lloyd?
Thank you, Roger. Roger Smith, also in Hamilton tonight. It will be 2 weeks tomorrow that the Harper government fell on a vote of confidence, and the election was underway the next day. At the time, the Conservatives were in the lead. Has anything changed in 2 weeks? We ask our national affairs correspondent, Lisa LaFlamme, who's looking at the flow of the campaign so far. What's new, Lisa?
Well, it is a very slow flow, Lloyd, I have to tell you. If you look at the numbers from day one of this campaign until today, national numbers have barely even budged. The Conservatives are still hovering around 9 or 10 points ahead of the Liberals. In the regions, it's a little more interesting. They are statistically tied in Atlantic Canada, Ontario, and Quebec, but it's really going to come down to those 25 critical ridings where so much internal party polling is going on, and particularly the 905, which is why, again, tonight we see the Liberals and the Conservatives both in Hamilton.
Some observers have been saying Michael Ignatieff has been running a good campaign. Is that reflecting itself in any way?
Marginally. You know, those attack ads are still working. The only number we're seeing change is on the question of whose vision of Canada do you like best. He is now ahead of Jack Layton, but still well behind Stephen Harper.
So not much has moved. How are people going to get more involved and get interested in this campaign?
Well, you know what? Numbers only move when someone makes a mistake, and no one has. Even those controversies popping up on the campaign trail are really just white noise to the voters. So the critical issue is now going to be the debates next week. Someone has to have a knockout punch, or else on May the 2nd, if this trend continues, the House of Commons is going to look a lot like it did the day the government fell.
All right, everybody watch for the debate then, and you'll be there, Lisa. Thank you.
Thanks, Lloyd. Good night.
In other news from the campaign trail, Elizabeth May, the leader of the Green Party, unveiled her party's platform today.
That you want to send a message that the toxic partisanship of the last 5 years must end, that we find ways to work together, that coalition is not a dirty word.
May says she wants her party to be a voice of reason in Ottawa. The Greens' platform includes income splitting for all Canadian families, including same-sex couples, the elimination of personal income tax for anyone earning less than $20,000 a year, a $1 billion employment program to help young people fund their post-secondary education. The Greens would also legalize marijuana. In the last federal election, the Green Party received about 7% of the popular vote, but did not win any seats in Parliament.